In 1899, a French archaeologist pulled a piece of sandstone out of the floor of a cave and turned it over in his hands. It was carved into a shallow bowl. The bowl was black inside, burnt, and on the back, someone had engraved an ibex, a wild goat with the horns curling back over its spine. Carefully, beautifully, on the underside, on the part nobody would see while it was being used. This is the oldest object we have ever confirmed that humans made for one single purpose: to hold back the dark. And here's the part that doesn't make sense. We've had fire for over 1 million years. This thing is a fraction of that age. So what took us so long? Why would a species that already had fire wait hundreds of thousands of years to invent a way to carry it quietly? The answer isn't about seeing. The answer is about waiting. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to hand you the actual evidence. The objects, the measurements, the burn times, the numbers that came out of scientists lighting these things and standing in the dark with a light meter. Because this is one of the rare corners of prehistory where we're not guessing. We've tested it, and by the end, you'll know 2 things almost nobody knows. You'll know exactly how much light our ancestors actually had. Not some light. An exact number. And you'll know what that number means about the kind of creature we became. The man in 1899 was Émile Rivière. The cave was La Mouthe in the Dordogne region of southwest France, and what he was holding is the first Paleolithic lamp anyone ever recognized as a lamp. Sandstone, carved, a depression in the middle, sooty residue at the bottom of that depression, and when it was analyzed, the residue turned out to be animal fat. Not a bowl, not a plate, not a paint palette, a lamp. Now hold on to the ibex on the back, because it's about to matter. Since Rivière, hundreds of these have turned up. And here's the first uncomfortable fact. In 1987, the French prehistorian Sophie de Beaune went through the entire known collection. Every object anyone had ever called a Paleolithic lamp. 302 candidates. Of those 302, she could confirm only 85. The rest were maybes, hollow stones, suggestive shapes, objects that look like lamps if you want them to. Because a stone that held burning fat for one evening, 17,000 years ago, and then got dropped. That stone often carries almost no trace at all. We know this because researchers have burned fat in replicas and then checked. The residue is nearly nothing. Think about what that means. The lamps we've found are the survivors of a survivor's game. Most of the light our ancestors made left no fingerprint whatsoever. But the ones we can confirm gave us something better than a date. They gave us a number. To find out what these lamps were actually like, you have to build one and light it. So that's what people did. De Beaune ran the first careful experimental program. Then, in 2021, a Spanish team led by María Medina Alcaide went further. They took replicas of Paleolithic lighting into a real cave, Isunsa 1, in the Basque country, and measured everything. Torches, fireplaces, stone lamps burning bone marrow from cattle and deer, with wicks of dried crushed juniper. Then they stood there with a light meter and wrote down what came out. Here's the number. Measured 1 meter from the flame, a Paleolithic grease lamp produces somewhere between 0.15 and 0.7 lux. That's it. That's the whole thing. To put that in your body, a full moon on a clear night delivers roughly 0.12 to 0.25 lux to the ground you're standing on. So, a Stone Age lamp at arm's length plus a bit is moonlight, not lantern light, not campfire light. Moonlight. A stone cup of melted deer marrow, burning a twig, throwing about as much light onto your hands as the moon does. And it gets stranger. The light doesn't even go where you'd want it to. The experiments found that a grease lamp doesn't glow in all directions. It throws a semicircular halo. It lights the wall in front of you and the space above you, and it barely lights the floor. The one place you're about to put your foot, which raises an obvious problem. Because they already had something better. A juniper torch in the same experiments in the same cave was roughly 5 times brighter than a 2-wick lamp. It threw light in every direction, including down. It lit a circle almost 6 meters across. And you could carry it. By every measure that matters for seeing, the torch wins. It isn't close. So why would anyone bother carving a stone bowl, rendering fat, drying juniper into wicks, to build a worse light? Because the torch has 3 problems, and the lamp answers every single one of them. Start with time. A torch doesn't last. In the experiments, they burned for about 41 minutes on average. The shortest one gave up at 21. The best one clawed its way to 61. And then you're standing in the dark. The lamp? Over an hour easily. One older experiment squeezed 5 hours of light out of 80 grams of fat and a single wick. 5 hours. Then there's your hands. A torch burns unevenly. It gutters. It dies. And to bring it back, you have to swipe it hard through the air, side to side, forcing oxygen into it, which means one of your 2 hands is permanently employed doing nothing but keeping the light alive. A lamp doesn't ask for that. You put it down. It burns. And the real reason? Smoke. A torch fills the room with it. In a cave with no wind, that isn't an inconvenience. That's a countdown. The researchers found that out the hard way. They had to abandon their fireplace measurements early because the chamber filled up on them. A grease lamp? Almost nothing. No smoke at all. Do you see what the lamp actually is now? It's not a better way to see. It's a worse way to see that you can survive being next to for hours. The torch is for going somewhere. The lamp is for staying. Now stand inside that. You're 17,000 years ago, deep inside Lascaux. The entrance is far behind you. Your eyes took a full 30 to 45 minutes to adapt to this. That's not a guess. That's how long human dark adaptation takes. In front of you, there's a wall. In your hand, or on a ledge beside you, there's a stone cup of melted fat with a juniper twig burning in it. Moonlight. And you're going to paint. Here's what that does to you. Human eyes need roughly 3 lux to see color at all. Below that threshold, the cones stop reporting, and you're running on rods. Motion, contrast, shape. Gray. A grease lamp only crosses 3 lux when you're right on top of it. In the experiments, at 40 centimeters, the lamp measured about 3.7 lux. So, the color exists in a bubble the size of your own forearm, which means the artist wasn't standing back and admiring the composition. The artist was working with their face close enough to the flame to feel it, seeing color only in the small pool where their hands were, and holding the rest of the animal. The shoulder, the belly, the far horn, 5 feet away in the gray. In their head. And there's one more thing, and it's the detail I can't stop thinking about. As light drops, your eye loses the short wavelengths first. Blue goes, green goes. The last colors standing at the bottom of human vision are red, orange, and yellow. And firelight itself burns warm, roughly 1,000 to 3,000 Kelvin, which pushes those same colors further forward. Go look at what's on the walls of Lascaux. Reds, yellows, blacks. I want to be careful here. Nobody can prove they chose those pigments because of the light, but it's a fact that those are the colors that survive the dark, and it's a fact that those are the colors that are there. And now let's answer the question in the title, because the answer has a trap in it. Ask, when did humans first light a lamp? And the question splits in 2. If you mean, when did humans first carry fire into total darkness? The answer is staggering. In Bruniquel Cave in France, 336 meters from the entrance, deep in a place where no light has ever reached, there are 6 circular structures built from about 400 broken-off stalagmites. Inside them, traces of fire. They've been dated to roughly 176,000 years ago, and they weren't built by us. Our species wasn't in Europe yet. That was Neanderthals, walking 1/3 of a kilometer into absolute black, carrying fire and building something. So fire in the dark, 176,000 years, minimum. But the lamp, the object, the designed thing, the stone cup, the confirmed ones cluster tens of thousands of years later, most of them around 17,000 years ago. That's the whole reveal. The lamp is young, absurdly young. We had fire for over 1 million years. We were carrying it into caves 176,000 years ago, and the lamp shows up at the very end. Why? Because a lamp is not a solution to darkness. A torch already solved darkness. A lamp is a solution to time. And you don't need to solve time until you plan to be down there for hours doing something that has nothing to do with staying alive. And they planned. We know they planned because someone did the arithmetic. In Atxurra Cave in northern Spain, there's a ledge, 2.5 meters up, with 84 images engraved and painted on it. Bison, horses, goats. To physically reach that ledge from the entrance takes a minimum of 38 minutes. A torch lasts about 41. Do the math they had to do. You cannot reach the art and get home on 1 torch. Not possible. It's been estimated you'd need to bring at least 1.8 kilograms of dry juniper. A spare, carried in, for the walk back out. Somebody stood in the daylight, gathered wood for a fire they had not lit yet, in a place they could not see, for a trip whose return leg they had already imagined. That's not survival, that's a project. So, when did ancient humans first light a lamp? Late. Much later than fire. Late enough that the honest answer is a confession. The lamp isn't the beginning of anything. It's a symptom. It shows up in the record at roughly the same time the deep caves fill with art, because that's the moment somebody needed a fire that would sit quietly on a rock and wait for them to finish. Every tool before it was for doing. Cut, scrape, throw, kill, carry. The lamp is the first tool we have that's for staying. It buys nothing but hours. Hours in a place with no food, no water, no reason to be, except that there's something on the wall you haven't finished, which brings us back to that piece of sandstone in Émile Riviere's hands in 1899 with an ibex carved into the underside, the side that faces down. The side that's in shadow the entire time the lamp is burning. Somebody decorated the bottom of a lamp. Nobody was ever going to see it, and they did it anyway. Which is, when you think about it, the exact same impulse that sent them 336 meters into the dark in the first place. Out of 302 objects we thought were lamps, only 85 are really lamps. Which means most of that light is gone. Burned in the dark, 17,000 years ago for a few hours, by someone whose name will never exist. And then it went out. They knew it would. That's the thing I keep coming back to. Nobody carries a lamp into a cave believing the light will last. You carry it knowing exactly how long you have, and you go in anyway, and you spend the hours you bought on something that will still be there long after the flame isn't. 17,000 years later, the fat is gone. The wick is gone. The person is gone. The animal on the wall is still there. And so is the ibex on the bottom of the lamp, carved on the dark side, by someone who apparently thought that even the thing that holds the light deserved to be beautiful. That's the part they left us, not the light. What they did with it.